All right, so please keep in mind with our session, if you've got anything that you would like to add, or if you've got a comment that you would like to bring into our session, please do so. The more interaction we have, the better our session will be, and that's certainly not something that you should think is limited by our slides tonight. So I've got some prepared slides we'll move through, but keep in mind if you have something that's related that you'd like to bring up, or you want to bring up something to clarify with the class, or anything that you would like to share, please feel welcome to do so. All right, I want everybody to know that your input is welcome and appreciated by not just myself, but also by your classmates. So the more interaction we have, the better. And with that being said, let's just take a look at our umbrella heading for the week, right? Last week we were looking at targeting and segmentation as a significant umbrella heading for lots of related issues in our industry. And this week we're looking at this concept of consumers in control, and specifically consumer generated content, right? All of the empowerment that came about as a result of the internet and consumer behavior on the internet in particular, right? Instead of advertising and promotional content being a one-way street the way it mostly was through mainstream television and radio for decades and decades, all of a sudden consumers had the ability to not just produce content, but produce content that impacted other consumers and corporations, right? Businesses, small and large, are impacted every day by consumer-generated content. So with that in mind, let's just make sure, before we move to this big question on the second slide, let's just make sure everybody knows what consumer-generated content, sometimes referred to as consumer-generated media, is. Does anybody want to share what they think consumer-generated content is? Okay, let's see. Russell has in the chat box feedback, and that is a very good way of getting to the point with regard to why it's significant, right? But what are the different forms that we have for consumer feedback, particularly as it relates to our industry? Anybody come up with any examples? And feedback is absolutely right. Social media, yes, that's a specific example of feedback. Any others? Right, blogs. I just tossed in there third-party review sites. Right. Tracy says contests, videos. Right, so, and those can be the same thing, right? You can have a video contest, or you can have videos of product reviews, or you can have contests, that don't involve video. So, right, those are all examples. Right, YouTube videos. Right, excellent, excellent. Okay, so there's lots of different ways that consumers can generate content, can generate media, and what we'll see this week is the significance of that content to consumer behavior. What we're going to see is that other consumers are influenced by the opinions of folks that have already bought the things they're interested in. What you'll find in our readings is that, in fact, oftentimes folks will trust other consumers more than they will trust companies. So this is certainly a very important influence on consumers, and something that we certainly want to address and harness as a tactic for your clients in the future. All right, so let's move on to this next slide here. All right, and what we do with a couple of these slides is we learn from our own shopping behaviors. We kind of use the attendees in our session as a small sample of consumer behavior as it relates to consumer-generated content. So anybody can answer this question. This is an open-ended question, and I can volunteer up and answer. Let me see, what in the world was the last thing I bought online? Okay, it was a domain name. So there's my answer. Okay, so Amazon. All right, so something from Amazon. All right, that works. Any other examples? Okay, iBooks. Excellent. Food. All right, so we're seeing a lot of variety. All right, we're seeing a couple of examples. iPad. We're seeing a couple of examples. All right, pizza. All right, delivery. Sure. All right, so as you evaluate the list from our small sample, right, of the folks that are here, um, we're going to see some interesting patterns that I think are going to be consistent with contemporary research that looks at the importance of consumer-generated content, which of course we touch on a lot with regard to our discussion and assignment this week. Mouse for the laptop. Okay, these are all great examples, and here is a follow-up question. For me, it's a resounding yes. Okay. All right. So what I want to point everybody's direction to is please make sure that you see the examples underneath this slide. All right, these are examples that have been brought up when this question has been asked to other classes of consumer behavior and analysis. All right, does anybody please take a good look at these and see if anybody has anything to add to our working list. Right, and if anybody has a question about one of those or doesn't necessarily see how one of these variables down here, right, can impact shopping behavior, please let me know and we can make sure that we talk about that. Make sure that it makes sense why these variables could influence your behavior as a consumer. All right, so Russell's got quality. I love it. I'm always looking for another good example. Okay, when it is a need or a want. So we'll say satisfy a need. Okay. Okay, so let's also take a good look. All right, so so timing. All right, can be another one when it's important. So make sure we've got that on there. Okay. All right. Excellent. So let's take a good look at this list, right, which we've just added to, and let's think about how this information could come from another consumer, right? This could be something, each of these potential influencers could be found and focused on by consumers, right? And could certainly impact or influence, right, our decisions. And they do influence decisions every day. So here's where we bring these variables back to our big focus for the week. Okay, and again, please take a look at our variables below the slide, and let's report back on our own opinions with regard to whether it influenced our decision, consumer-generated content. Okay. All right. Excellent. Okay. So what we're seeing here with our responses, even though there's not a huge number of people in our group, we are seeing clearly the significance of other consumers on our own shopping behavior, right? Just from our small sample. And what we're going to find this week as we move through the reading and as we move through our coursework is the variables that we looked at with this slide and with this slide, right? The examples down below the slides, those are going to be all over the literature. And we're going to see that the things that influence us in our sample this evening are also influencing customers every day that are shopping online. All right, so let's take the ideas that we've discussed tonight and let's see if any of us or all of us, right, can take this idea and relate it back to our case study company. Does anybody have an example that they would like to share of how their case study company harnesses consumer-generated content? And the examples below are from previous, or represent previous examples, right, that other students have mentioned when we've seen this last slide together. There they are. There's all of them. Does everybody's case study company have their website optimized for local? Are all of your case study company's websites listed on relevant third-party review sites? All right, does everybody or does anybody use a customer satisfaction survey? Okay, so Russell says just starting to use Facebook. Okay, let's see. Let's see what other examples we might have. Okay, so for those of us that don't have these sorts of tactics in place with our case study company right now, these are great suggestions for improvement, all right? And these suggestions are things that could be worked into your final project, for example, right? If you're looking for suggestions for improvement, right? And you're thinking back on your classes and trying to come up with suggested tactics, right? That would be relevant, that could be helpful, be beneficial to your case study companies, right? We've got a whole laundry list of them for you right here, okay? Not only why they're important to consumers, but where information is coming from, who's producing it, and how to apply it to your company, right? If your company doesn't have listings with third-party review sites, you can very quickly come up with a list of third-party review sites that you would recommend and have that as a suggestion, right? And so that goes along with potentially creating surveys, potentially suggesting a mobile app suggesting testimonials be placed on the site. And by the way, the typical suggestion for testimonials is not just to have a testimonials page, but to sprinkle testimonials throughout a website for a given company so that consumers see that positive feedback in more than one location. Gives them a good feeling as they're shopping and gives trust and authority to your client. Okay, excellent. All right, so let's see. Russell says, today I got in the mail a giant cigarette that says, review us on Google. All right, that's great. That's great. I mean, yes, the importance of consumer generated content is still being recognized by our industry, and that's something to keep in mind. You know, this is not just a relevant topic, but it's a topic that's relevant right now. You know, more and more companies are seeing the importance of not ignoring consumer generated content online and you know, using it as a positive marketing tool that's very cost effective, right? That's a great thing to tell your clients is that if you're making a suggestion, uh, rebuilding a website, right, a redesign perhaps for a client, one of the things you can suggest is an avenue for them to incorporate consumer generated content into their marketing mix. So keep that in mind. This is another way to uh, not only improve your own marketing tactics for any business initiatives that you have as an entrepreneur, but this is a great a great strategy with a set of tactics, right? That you can use when you're having discussions with clients, right? That you can bring into the mix when you're explaining to them things that you can do to benefit their conversion rates and have happy, satisfied return customers. All right. So thinking about what we've looked at tonight, um, with regards to, you know, why consumer generated content is important to our industry, um, different examples of how we can help clients engage and initiate consumer generated content on their end. And of course, you know, one of the things we want to make sure not to overlook is, you know, the reason that it's important to take the time to even worry about consumer generated content is not only because it influences other consumers, but because it should influence our clients as well, right? Or our business if it's our business, right? We want to learn from our consumers, learn what's making them happy, and learn what we can do better, and then incorporate that into our promotional content and even uh, make it clear, right, that we've made adjustments on, for example, a blog. If there was a negative blog post related to some sort of a service or a product, you know, following that back up, which we'll see in the readings, and instead of ignoring it and coming to a positive resolution with a client is absolutely the way to handle that. So, you know, customers like when they see that you listen to them, and this is a great way to do so. Um, so, any questions about what we have talked about tonight? This is the end of the prepared material for this evening. Okay, all right, all right. Well, I so appreciate everybody. Okay, all right, I see you, Russell. Um, let's see. So I so appreciate everybody being here tonight, taking the time out of their schedule to have this component of our class together. And if you have any questions related to what we discussed tonight or about our discussion or our assignment, you know, this is not the only opportunity where we can interact. Please hit me up with an email and let me know how I can help you, or give me a call. Um, Email is probably the quickest, most effective way for us to communicate. So that's my recommendation as your number one option. Um, and we will make sure that expectations are clear so that everybody has the opportunity to have an outstanding performance in our class together. Let's see. So hold on. Russell says, I was wondering, not having a shopping cart Having a reviewer blog using Tumblr be a good way to generate feedback. Not having a shopping cart with a review blog or using Tumblr would be a good way to generate feedback. Yeah, that's an option. It depends on the situation with regard to how much manpower there is or woman power there is uh, to be able to maintain a blog or a feed of any kind, right? So if you have a company or client that has folks that they can harness to take care of that sort of initiative, then that's great. If not, another way that requires less maintenance, where you can collect satisfaction information, would be third-party review sites, where you could have that as a platform that would require less maintenance. So it really depends on your client, depends on your client's budget, how many employees they have, and if you're going to be managing the consumer-generated content, you want to think about that with regard to an opportunity. If you're getting paid by the hour, you're going to make a lot more money if you're doing social media, and you're going to make probably a lot less money if you're maintaining third-party review sites. So think about it strategically. Think about your clients' needs, and think about what works best for them in their marketing mix. So that's the best answer to that question, Russell. And that's a great thought, is to figuring out what tactics to apply, and it's going to be client specific as you apply these tactics down the road. Any other questions? Okay, and so Angie's List. Okay, sure. Angie's List is good. I have not used it a lot because it is not free. One of the things that I've typically done when I've done local SEO for clients in the past is I have hooked them up with all the free listings, and then I have warned them and said, all of these people that do this for free are going to call you and try to get you to switch to a paid option. And I always tell them, don't do it unless you want to pay more. But being on those sites and being relevant to folks looking for services and products that are related to your clients is a good way to go. But if you have clients that can afford the paid options, goodness, have them go for it, right? But there's plenty of free options out there that you can steer clients to as well. Just be honest with them and tell them, if you list your phone number with Yahoo Local, right? Some Yahoo representative, some Yahoo is going to call you and try to tell you that you can do better if you give them money. But I don't think that that's always in a budget for a client. I don't think it's always necessary. So all right. Well, fantastic. Well, keep in mind, reach out to me if I can be of any assistance to anybody. I'm here for you and want you to do well. So please let me know if I can do anything to help you in that regard. And thank you all again for being here. Appreciate you being here. And everybody have a great evening.